I am a straight, white, Christian, married, suburban mom who knows that the very notion that learning about slavery or redlining or systemic racism somehow means that children are being taught to feel bad or hate themselves because they are white is absolute nonsense. No child alive today is responsible for slavery. No one in this room is responsible for slavery. But each and every single one of us bears responsibility for writing the next chapter of history. People who are different are not the reason that our roads are in bad shape after decades of disinvestment, or that healthcare costs are too high, or that teachers are leaving the profession. I want every child in this state to feel seen, heard, and supported, not marginalized and targeted because they are not straight, white, and Christian.
If you are raised and schooled in the United States of America, and you have gone to school for 13 years, K through 12, and you aren't a racist, you weren't listening. Now, people really resent it when I say that, but wait a minute, folks. Who do we say invented everything, discovered everything, did all the writing, did all the reading? People. Eventually, maybe you'll actually say when the teacher says, Christopher Columbus discovered America and he met those Indians here. There were no Indians here when Christopher Columbus got here. There were people from Africa who had been here for over 10,000 years before Christopher Columbus was born. It's time for us to teach our children the truth. And it's time for us to say, okay, we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter. People, everybody trace your DNA back as far as you can trace it. And you're going to find out that every one of you has in their DNA some DNA from a country in Africa. That's a fact.
Now, welcome, guys. And when a community reclaims its voice, its narrative, and its sense of reality, oppressive tactics lose their hold. And what remains is the potential for more authentic dialogue, more accountability, and future where truth no longer has to fight so hard to be believed. We've all seen all this taking place in America, and a lot being hidden from Black Americans. And Black people have not been, showing this negative energy towards it. They are quiet and they are calm, and they cannot believe that Black people are this way. Now, I want us to watch the videos, and then later on I'll be reacting to the videos. Share your thoughts, share your views concerning it in the comment section. Do subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate. For now, let's get into it and wrap it up.
So this past weekend, I learned just how racist my grandmother really is. My grandmother and I are going over to my mom's house for a shopping trip, just girls' day with my sister. And we stop at McDonald's, and McDonald's is mixed in with the gas station. Well, there was this Asian woman who was walking across the path as we were trying to drive past, to get to the exit. She's standing at the curb, like waiting for whoever she was with, I assume. And she's looking at us. My grandmother goes, "Don't worry, we're not gonna hit you. You're probably here illegally anyway." I look at her and I'm like, that is so up. Like, you can't say that. She was like, it's probably true. And I was like, you have no idea her story. Her family could have been here for generations. You don't know that. And she had the argument of, well, when I was a kid, like, they weren't here. And I was like, who cares? They're here now. It doesn't matter. And she was just saying all this stuff. And I was like, that's messed up. You cannot say that. Like, that's just awful. I was like, that's like looking at you and be like, go back to Germany, you stupid. And I said those words exactly. But she just wasn't having it. I was like, that is completely racist. And she was like, it's how I was raised. I don't care if that's how you were raised. Being racist is the dumbest thing that you could probably do in your entire life.
When white people see my posts about racism in America, frequently they say, I didn't know. When Black people see these comments, they say, we already know. There is no way you didn't know. Don't pretend you didn't. This disconnect is really hard to explain, and I've been trying to understand it myself. I'm going to be digging into this really deep because I think it's so important. It's not that we're just oblivious white people. It's that we've been groomed to be oblivious white people. People point out that it's not like this stuff is locked in some vault somewhere. It's available. You can see it. And that's true. But we were trained not to ask questions. We were trained not to look for it. And I see it in my family. I see it in my circle of friends, even some of my friends that are pretty progressive. We have this ingrained training to not ask too many questions. We were taught to trust authority figures, teachers, ministers, police officers, politicians, the anchor guy on the evening news. We believed them because we were groomed from childhood to believe that they were trustworthy. We were not taught that the system itself, the system they were part of, was designed to protect itself first. And frankly, it felt good just to trust them. It's like you had this permanent mommy and daddy figure. It made life feel safe. The gaps in white knowledge were filled in with lies. We were told that poor people were lazy, that's why they're poor. That crime existed in Black neighborhoods because they were Black neighborhoods. That broken families cause poverty. These ideas were not questioned. They were treated as common sense. And we were started with our grooming as infants, as little tiny babies, as little bitty kids that are impressionable and just forming our ideas about the world. So that was our social foundation. We were told that Black people can't keep their marriages together. I was even told that the reason they couldn't keep their marriages together was because of how they were treated during slavery. So out of one side of their mouth, they'd say, wasn't that horrible that families were split up during slavery? But now that has just become part of who they are. And so it's their fault. I don't know, it didn't make sense to me either. We also were not told that welfare benefits were not available if there was a man in the house, a Black woman working 2 jobs who still needed support to raise her children, could not have a husband or partner living in the house with her. And of course we were taught that that was their fault because they couldn't keep their marriages together. As we were growing up and we started to repeat these beliefs, we were seen as respectful and well-adjusted. I don't know, are you getting pissed off? I'm getting pissed off just going through this again. We were guided by the TV news and movies and TV shows to care when white people suffered and to disconnect from the pain of other people. We were taught to feel patriotic about our country without questioning whether they were being truthful with us about why we should feel such patriotism. When we asked those white authority figures that we were taught to trust, we were lied to. Now, when Black people give us honest answers, we don't fully trust them. It's not about ignorance, it's about conditioning. My education is in behavior analysis, and that's how that works. You just expose someone to a social system that supports a certain line of thinking, and you fall for it, especially if you are started out as a young kid being taught all that stuff. And that's what happens to all of us. We were taught that silence is polite and that truth about society is rude or inappropriate. And as a girl that went to a fundamentalist Christian church, that was even more so. You don't ask questions that are going to make people uncomfortable. But that comfort, you see, it kept us obedient. It kept us from asking too many questions. It kept us from wanting to do anything about it because we didn't fully understand that there was something that needed to be done. We were used to preserve a system that depended on our own silence. It kept us from befriending Black people. It kept us from knowing what the hell we thought we knew about those people. So when white people say, I didn't know about any of this, understand what that really means. We were trained not to look. We were trained to believe the stories that we were told by the authority figures. We were shaped by a system that used your trust against you. We were trained to look away. And now we have a choice. White people, we need to get angry about being kept in the dark all these years so that together with our Black neighbors and neighbors of all races, we can break down this oppressive system that has brought us here to the point of fascism. Check the caption for some documentaries to help you get started learning. We need to really get curious.
Since we're on the topic of race, I think that this is a great story time opportunity to talk about my upbringing. I have a Black mother and a white father. Growing up, I didn't know that I was different, but I knew that something was supposed to be a secret. Trigger warning, this is about racial passing and my experience growing up in my hometown back in the day. We moved from another state, and my grandma, who's white, she kept telling me, you can't go around telling people that your mom is Black. You have to tell them that that's the nanny. When you go to school, like, don't mention your mom. It's like, why? I remember asking her why. And she was like, because it's gonna be harder for you. They're gonna treat you differently. They're gonna put you in stupid classes and all this stuff that she was telling me. But I knew for my grandmother, it was more of a social aspect. She didn't want people knowing that her grandchildren were like half Black. In this elementary school I went to, I noticed that double fountains, not just like a small one and a big one, but it was like a small one and a big one and then another small one and a big one next to them. And it was always near the bathrooms. And I always questioned, why is there two girls' bathrooms like so close to each other and two boys' bathrooms so close to each other? I didn't know that my school was at one point a segregated school. 2 Black people in my whole school. Everyone else was white. My hair would curl because of the humidity, and my grandma wanted to erase the Black. She wanted to erase the Black. Back in the day, there was something called Japanese perms, a relaxer, and I would just remember my scalp burning in the shower. Other things that she would do, she would like, when you go to like the beauty supply store and you see like those like special soaps, she would put all those soaps on me and tell me like, stay in the shade, squeeze my nose, thinking that it'll make it smaller. Starts questioning you, just say that you're Italian. And it's just crazy. So there was this Black boy named Jeremy that like joined our class like mid-year. When I tell you, that's when I learned that they'll treat you differently. Jeremy wasn't allowed to go on the blacktop. Jeremy had to stay inside. Jeremy, obviously like schools have like funding for like kids that can't go to like certain like field trips. They'll leave Jeremy behind. The kids will call Jeremy and like the teachers would just like laugh about it. And I always felt like Jeremy knew that I was part Black, but he didn't like know. Like he like felt it but didn't know. That's when I noticed like, oh shit, if I tell someone I'm Black, like I'm gonna be treated like Jeremy. So I just didn't tell anyone. It wasn't like I was ashamed or something, but I was taught like this was something bad. There would be like parent-teacher conference, and my grandmother would show up in replacing my mom. My mom's very submissive, very sweet woman. Oh, you can't show up, you're gonna ruin this family, you're gonna ruin her opportunities if you tell people. I'm not one of those like self-hating, I'm not here like, oh, don't look at my mom, like none of that. Like me and my mom were really cool, like we really chill. She was just here like yesterday. But my grandma, trials and tribulations. So my mom one day randomly decided to show up to the elementary school, and it was my birthday. When people saw my mom, they thought it was the nanny. I guess I slipped and said mom. This girl, I forgot what her name was, like Crystal or whatever. She was like, you're, and I was like, no, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So this Crystal girl went around, told everybody that I'm actually like black and making fun of me. They said, oh, that's why your hair looks like it's electrocuted. Like my teachers started asking me, they're like, are you? I was like, no, no, that's my nanny. That's not my mom. And I remember going home and I asked my mom, I was like, why can't I tell people you're my mom? And she was like, it's just for your own good. The moral of the story with the elementary school is that if I ended up telling people that I was black, I would have been in like these horrible classes. I wouldn't have been taught properly. I wouldn't have gotten like the new textbooks. They gave the black kids the old ass textbooks and had them in a different class. Like they would come for certain classes, but not all the classes. And you could just tell that they were like a little behind with school. And then I knew that, yeah, I was getting like good education, but I always like, it was nothing that I was like, oh, I'm ashamed of being this. It was like, why do I have to keep this secret? And nobody looked like me. Nobody looked like me. And I was just so confused as a kid. But then when I got to high school, that's when I started noticing that people say some wild ass shit. I went to high school, people started calling people hard ERs. There's more black people. And nobody knew. Nobody knew. And then I think it was my junior year, I just like told everyone, I'm like, you guys know I'm half black, right? Nobody believed me. This is my mom, showing them pictures, showing them my cousins and all this stuff. I like finally, like, I used to like relax my hair like all the time. And then I finally like let my hair grow. I just like lived in my truth. And yeah, they treated me a little differently after that. But I felt so happy to just like not live with this weird secret. But then now I understand why my mom, well, it wasn't really my mom, it was my grandma. It was not like the imitation of art where I was trying to disown my mother and live my life as a white woman. That was not the case. I don't know, like as an adult looking back at it, I can imagine how confused I was as a child. I never like I said, hated my mom or felt like I was ashamed of being black. I just knew that I saw that if I told people, I would be treated differently. And so that's where the whole like light skin privilege and all this stuff and this whole biracial talk that's going on TikTok is like trending, because they're like, you don't know what it's like. And yeah, like I don't know what it's like, but I saw, and I also had a black mom and I saw her experiences and I saw how like my father's family treated her. And to this day, I don't really like fuck with them like that.
Now, when I got to see these kind of videos, the first thing I felt is exhaustion. And it's just not exhaustion alone, but it's exhaustion mixed with clarity. Exhaustion because black people have lived through generations of being told their experiences weren't real, and clarity because we finally recognize the patterns in a way that no one can twist anymore. And this is happening, and it is happening in real time. And it is strange how people can be surprised when something they have relied on stops working, like the community here. They've been using this against blacks, but the blacks are very calm. They have no problem with it. They are relaxed because they over time became used to it. That gaslighting has been such a normalized tool, against black people, downplaying racism, dismissing the pain, blaming black people for their own oppression. That some folks truly didn't, expect black people to wake up collectively and, be this way towards, to have this kind of reactions towards uh, the energy that they've been giving them. We've always seen it happening. And it is also surprising. We've also, over time, we've seen black people, some of them got used to it and believed maybe hey, it might be true. It's because of our problem. It's because of our actions that we are going through this pain. But that wasn't the case. And we've always seen all these unfold, and we get to know things that we never knew before, and people get opened up, something that is also happening at the moment. And so as a black person, I do know what it feels like to be told explicitly or subtly that what I saw wasn't what I saw, that what I felt was overreaction. And also that what, hurt me wasn't racial. It's like being pushed underwater and then asked, were you gasping for air? You know, we've always seen this shit happening, and it has not happened once. It has not happened twice. It has been happening ever ever since time immemorial. But we've seen black people are not in the same era anymore. We have a language now. Black people have a community now, a community where they are standing together with each other, a community where they are fighting together, a community where they are standing with black families and supporting black businesses, especially to support them financially. We've all seen this happening. We've also seen black people having receipts. You know, we've seen all this happening, and the why they've not been ready to see all this, and that's why they are perplexed. They don't know what move to use now, because the tactics that they were using before of misinformation, it's not happening at the moment. We could see a lot of stuff were happening that time when people are misled. And right now, anything happens, you see TikTok videos, you see people, informing each other. So what they've been relying on, it's not working. And so they have to find out a different way to, support their white supremacist ideas. But they are very late. You've seen black people have woken up and are doing marvelously, are doing it differently in a way that they are not going to be stopped. The fight has not, just started. It is continuing, and it is getting hotter and hotter. Yes, black people are getting better and better. They are getting surprised. Uh, those old tricks, they're not working. The tricks that they were telling, black people, it's all in your head. Doesn't work when millions, of black people have lived the same patterns. The shared experience, has become very evident to black people and, the white in general. And, evidence is power. And that's why black people have power at the moment. That's why they are giving them sleepless nights. They cannot sit down and relax when all these stuffs are happening. And so when I see this kind of video, when I see all this happening, what I really feel is empowerment. I feel pride. I also feel a relief, I feel very proud of the black American people. Not because, the struggle is over, but because the minds of the blacks are no longer as vulnerable to manipulation like they were used to when black people were slaves in America. We see clarity now, and once people see clearly, Nothing, no, not even gaslighting, not even denial, not surprise can put them back in the dark. And I love it. I give my black people a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the content. I would like to bring it to a close here. For now, let me close it. I'm hoping to see you in the next video. Goodbye.